In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw and coordinate drawings for a set of exterior elevations. So we're going to begin by talking a little bit about how elevations are conveyed on a floor plan sheet, and then we're going to move on to the sheet that contains elevation drawings, and we're going to talk about the drawing layout and the annotation system, and then we're going to discuss the elevations themselves. So to begin, what we're looking at now is a floor plan of our building. And you can see here that around the perimeter in front of each facade or each wall of the facade is an elevation tag. And we'll start by looking at this one down here. So what you're seeing here is a square that is intended to show where a person would be standing, or the viewer would be standing, and then an arrow showing which direction that you would be looking. So in this case, you would be standing here and looking at this exterior facade. Now, what you need to be aware of is there's also some information being conveyed by this annotation itself, and that's directing you to another sheet in the drawing set. So if you want to see how this elevation looks, then you need to go to sheet number A102 and look at drawing number 1. So same thing here. This is going to be the east facade, and you can see here I started by numbering at the bottom and then ran it in a counterclockwise direction. But you can see if you wanted to see this one, it would be drawing number 2 on sheet A102. So just be aware that if you're going to show elevations, the first thing that you need to do is tag the plan to indicate where you're going to be looking, and then cross-reference that to the second set of drawings. So what I'm going to do now is pause this, and we'll move on to the sheet that's got the elevation drawings on it. So now that we are on the elevation sheet, I want to start by discussing the sheet layout and the annotation system, and then we'll move on to discussing the actual drawings themselves. So the first thing I want you to notice is, like all the other drawings, we have a title bar along the right-hand side. And in this case, this is sheet number A102, and it's labeled for the exterior elevations. So as you look at this sheet, there's a couple of things that I want you to notice because there's a very intentional way that the drawings are placed on this sheet. So the first is that the drawings themselves are placed in a symmetrical way, and they're aligned with each other, and the margins are consistent. So you can see here that we have the margin to the right of these drawings is the same as the margin to the left of these drawings, so that's consistent. The margin between the top and bottom edges is consistent, and the spacing between the drawings is consistent as well. The other thing is that the edges will align. So if I lay my T-square across the middle of this sheet, or even at the bottom of this sheet, and I put my triangle on top of it, the verticals between the two facades will align with each other so that they're easier to draft, and so that they themselves are showing consistency with the building size. The same thing here, the bottom edges where the slab is will be aligned across the drawings as well, and you'll notice this when you go forth with tracing this. You can see here also that the drawings that were inside the triangle on the elevation tags themselves are coordinated here. So drawing 1 on sheet A102, which was the north elevation, you can see here is indicated that's drawing number 1. And we remember the east elevation was indicated with a 2 in the little triangle on the elevation tag and sheet A102. So there's some coordinating here that is essentially a wayfinding device within the sheet set. You can see here that the titles are consistent the same way that they've been in all the other drawings that we've done. So all capital letters and spelled out. So east elevation is in all caps with the scale underneath. Notice that there's also on this particular drawing, you can see that the left edge of the drawing label aligns with the leftmost edge of the drawing, and the line extends all the way to the rightmost edge of the drawing. So that's, again, consistent, not arbitrary, well thought out and planned from the beginning. So now that we have an understanding of the layout and the general organization of this sheet, now I'd like to zoom in and call out some things on the particular drawings. So let's start here with the north elevation. And just as you're looking here, you can see that I started out with my heaviest line weight pen. So that would be a 0.45 or a 0.5 millimeter. And the perimeter drawing here is the profile line. That's the thickest drawing. It goes all the way around this outer edge on all of the drawings. And once you have that that exterior profile line drawn, then you can switch to your medium line weight. So that would be a 0.3 or 0.35 millimeter. And you're going to use this to create the change of plane lines. And so the change of plane here is sort of the second level in the hierarchy. And so that's indicating here the roof line. There's also a change of plane here happening both between the window and the facade and then the window frame itself. And there's a change of plane line here between the wall and the slab. I also use change of plane lines to break apart the title bar. So you can see there's a very thick line on the exterior, and then these are also change of plane lines. I also use the the medium weight pen to draw any of my labels, the text, and then also for the line work here for the labels themselves. So the next level down in the hierarchy is the texture. And so there's very little texture detail here just because the scale itself doesn't allow it. So, and then also just sort of the level of detail here. We're not getting into all the different treatments and, wall finishes and things like that. But what I did use was I switched to my thinnest line weight pen. So in my case, it's a 0.2 or 0.25 millimeter. You can use either. And that's what I use to create the stippling on the slabs. This is a concrete slab, and so stippling is how we indicate that texture. So you can see here it's denser on the outer edges and then gets less dense as you go towards the middle. And you can see here I also used a very thin line weight to indicate the texture of the glass here. And this is always how we indicate glass on anything. You always see a series of parallel angled lines. Sometimes you've got room for two, sometimes you've got room for three. This one on the south elevation, that's probably the most common one. You can be consistent. I just was using this as an example to show you kind of some different iterations of it. You see this one a lot as well. But you can try out and see which one you like the best and just use that to be consistent throughout all your windows. Again, I'm using the thinnest line weight, and I used my 30-60-90 triangle to create the angle and just separated them just ever so slightly. You can see also here on the east elevation, again, just a really, really simple information about the handles on the doors and the differences between, for example, the more decorative windows on the exterior that would face the street and a little bit more simpler ones on the facades that wouldn't be the first things that you see. But I'm not getting into, knobs versus pulls or, what the roof treatment is or anything like that at this level. We're just keeping it very, very simple. Okay, so now you should understand the annotations that are supposed to be used on the floor plan itself, and then how to coordinate those annotations with the placements of the drawings on the sheet. Thinking about, really good sheet layout and intention when you're placing drawings on the sheet. And then again, being consistent with the annotations on each sheet, and then using pen thickness or line weight to indicate the hierarchy on the drawings themselves.